So, full disclosure, I am fully aware that my shirt today looks like that late 70s, early 80s sofa couch that your mom had with all the flowers. You know the one. Hey folks, Drunken Homemaker here, and today I'm going to be talking about a book that I feel like has changed my life. And anyone who knows me is probably thinking to themselves right now, Rosa, you're being a little bit dramatic, which, fair. But also, I really think that this book is like the key to unlocking a lot of things about why I am the way that I am and what makes me tick. I'll explain why. So the book that I am talking about today is The Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. I will link it below on Amazon if you are interested in purchasing it. This book is a study on human nature. Can humans be sorted into specific groups? It turns out she found out they can be. And the question that she asked to get to her conclusion was, how do I respond to expectation? And Rubin discovered through her research that there are exactly 4 ways people respond to it. And that's what this book is about. So what are the 4 tendencies? Good question. The 4 tendencies are upholder, questioner, obliger, and rebel. So again, the question that this particular sorting hat asks you is how you respond to expectation, specifically outer and inner expectation. Let's start with upholders. Upholders meet outer and inner expectations. They are the Hermione Grangers of the 4 tendency world. Their catchphrase is discipline is my freedom. Can't relate. These folks are good at fulfilling all obligations expected of them. They like following rules, sometimes to a fault. If there is one group that I could choose to be a part of, this would probably be it, just because I would get so much done. The next group is questioners. This group resists outer expectation and meets inner expectation. Their catchphrase is, I'll comply if you tell me why. That rhymes. Questioners, like their name implies, tend to ask a lot of questions. They want to know why they should do what you're asking of them, and if there's a better, more efficient way to do it. This group is near and dear to my heart because my husband is a questioner, and I tend to lean questioner, which is why we get along so well. The next group is obligers. They meet outer expectations but resist their inner expectations. Their catchphrase is, you can count on me, but I'm counting on you to count on me. I fall into this category. And it's a double-edged sword because while I'm super dependable for obligations outside of myself to other people, I'm absolutely rubbish following through on obligations to myself when I have no outside accountability. More on that later. Obligers also tend to make up the largest group of the population. A lot of people are obligers. We make the world go round. Finally, rebels. You guessed it, this group resists both outer and inner expectations. Their catchphrase is, you can't make me, and neither can I. This black sheep of the 4 tendencies groups is the group that I envy the least. Primarily because of their inability to do something, even if they want to, because you ask them to do it. How does that work? In my close group of friends and family, I've got 5, count them, 5 rebels. This is also, thankfully, the smallest group reflected in our population. So how do you know which group you belong to? You know. Come on, you know. I will link the quiz below to Gretchen Rubin's website so that you can take the quiz and find out what tendency you fall into. In this video, I'll be talking primarily about obligers because this video is titled, How This Book is Changing My Life for a Reason. My name is Rosa, and I'm an obliger. It's not a bad thing, but it's not a great thing. We're that dependable friend, family member, coworker, lover, who would love to help you with your thing. Even if it means not doing our thing, especially if it means that. I do this all the time. I remember reading the description for obligers and just having this moment. You know the moment where you're just like, oh my gosh, this answers all the questions. This is the reason that I am the way that I am. This is the reason that I struggle so much to finish things. So if you are an obliger, I feel you. I knew before I took the quiz exactly where I stood. I work in human services, for goodness sake. So here's a few quotables from the book that really kind of stick out to me. Obligers succeed when given accountability with supervision, monitoring, and other forms of accountability. So I can name specific instances in my life where this was a fact. Namely, I did really well in high school because it was structured and because I knew that I had accountability and my teachers were counting on me, and I was a theater kid and my theater people were counting on me. So I didn't do too shabby in high school. Got to college and failed out of all my courses the first semester because I didn't have structure, I didn't have accountability. There weren't teachers checking in on me. When I joined my theater program and I was again in a setting of accountability and my classmates were counting on me, and if I didn't show up to class, my classmates were like, hey, where are you at? Accountability. It really was, it all came down to that. If I had that, I did really well. If I didn't, I just had no follow through. So that for me was a really important moment. It's like, it's not that I can't do these things. I can, and I can go above and beyond when my supervisor asks me to do something, and I will put so much work and effort into other people's things. I help my husband with his videos all the time, and I act like it's like the be all end all, it's gotta be perfect, but I won't necessarily do that for myself. I'm getting there, I'm a work in progress. One thing that I did wanna touch on is obliger rebellion. When I read about this, it just resonated with me so much because I can name specific instances in my life where this has happened. So what obliger rebellion is, obligers say yes to a lot of stuff, even when they probably shouldn't. And a lot of the times other tendencies will tend to take advantage of obligers. Why? Because we say yes to everything and because we follow through and we get the job done. If you're that person at work that everyone just piles their work on because they're like, that person will get it done, yeah, you're probably an obliger. So what ends up happening is, unfortunately, because people tend to take advantage of obligers, this is the quote that I will do anything that you ask until I won't. I could write a book on the amounts of times that I have experienced obliger rebellion, where I have taken on so much and people have asked me and piled stuff onto me, stuff that was not my job, stuff that just I was not meant to do. And then I just kept doing it. And finally I just reached this point where I was like, that's it. So you gotta watch out as an obliger for obliger rebellion, because yes, for me, I really haven't run into a situation where it's hurt me in a negative necessarily. It's been a lot about self-preservation and taking care of myself and putting myself first, and other people second. But a lot of times when it happens, it's very dramatic. It can be very dramatic, and it can be very sort of, we're done. So you want to look out for that, because obviously, you know, you want to leave a job on good terms. You want to leave a job when it's a problem, not necessarily like when it's compacted into this really, really bad thing that is very toxic, and then you just flip over your desk and say, that's it, I'm leaving. Don't do that. So if you have a friend who is an obliger or falls into any of the other 4 tendencies, do me a favor and share this with them and tag them in it. Thanks. If you have someone who's an obliger, the way that you can help them with the tendency to say yes to everything, even if they don't have time, is to remind the obliger that saying no allows him or her to say yes to work that's more important. Or, you know, yes to yourself, obliger, you should try it. I won't try it. I won't do it. I don't like it. If it's hard to like categorize yourself as an obliger and then say, well, what's wrong with me? Well, it's not that there's something wrong with us. It's just we have to be smart about how we interact with the world around us to take care of ourselves. That being said, obligers can do just about anything well if they have outer accountability and if they guard against obliger rebellion. And so finally, I want to talk about why I think that this book is changing my life. I have always had trouble sort of following through on my own goals and deadlines, and I never really realized why that was until I read this book. Having that sort of framework to understand myself a little bit better and know why I do the things that I do, why I make the decisions that I make, why I overload myself all the time for the sake of other people, and then I just feel burnt out all the time, which is a real thing that has happened so many times that I can think of like 5 instances in the last 3 months. So the way that I have been able to incorporate some of the teachings in this book into my own life is realizing that when it comes to deadlines, when it comes to goals that I have inside of myself that I don't necessarily have somebody, a supervisor, a higher up, holding me accountable. I have to find a way to make myself accountable. Obligers must have systems of external accountability in order to meet inner expectation. We must. We're not getting it done unless we have external accountability. So that's obviously difficult. It's complicated. Sometimes I just want to be angry at myself and say, why can't you just do this thing? But the way that I'm dealing with it in a very real way is by setting out external accountability. So to give you an example, some of you may know I am writing a play right now. So what that means is that I have called one of my friends and asked him to hold me accountable. And this is one of my friends who manages people for a living. I know he can be a hard ass whenever he wants to. I know that he will hold me accountable. He manages other people. He does this for a living. So I was like, this person, thank you, Charlie. I was like, Charlie will keep me accountable. And if I ask him to hold me to it, he absolutely will. So anyway, that was one of the ways that I am holding myself accountable and working within the framework of being an obliger. So yeah, that's my spiel. What do you think about this? What do you think about this book? Have you read it? If you have read it, comment below. What tendency are you? I see you, I see you. If you have a friend or family member that one of these just kind of yelled at you, that's my mom, that's my sister, I have opinions on both of those. So make sure you hit like if you like this type of content and you would like me to review more books that will change your life. And don't forget to subscribe. Share this video with someone that you recognize in one of the tendencies, and make sure you tag them on social media. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me, and I will see you next week.